All right. Okay. So there may be a universal dominance hierarchy, because if you limit yourself to a particular dominance hierarchy, then it may, and that's all you think that exists, then it may justify the use of power to climb up the dominance hierarchy. And the more rigid it is, the more those who are frustrated at the bottom are likely to use aggression to progress towards the top. Because there has been sociological data to suggest that when when hierarchies get particularly steep and rigid, violence increases. And so so immoral behavior seems to come out of the fact of dominant hierarchies. And in our society, we've seemed to declare, you know what, then the hell with dominant hierarchies in general, and to dispose of that toxic masculinity. But I think that's all wrong, because the dominance hierarchy is innately biological. Females use it to select attractive men, and men use it to choose the competent males to lead, and to lead the tribe, or to take charge, or they put them in positions of power because they're competent. Okay. So disposing of the dominant hierarchy in general isn't a proper solution for the aggression that comes with the dominance dispute, that comes with the dominance hierarchy in rigid areas. And then how the US, or in our free market society, how America seems to sidestep that problem, or maybe in the West, is to allow for the creation of multiple dominance hierarchies simultaneously. So if you fail at one, then you can go into another. For example, if you fail at being an artist, you can go and be like a sales manager, etc. There's multiple dominance hierarchies by which a person can excel, and that's how we've kind of mitigated the problem. But there's another way, and that still doesn't solve the problem of local dominance hierarchies, of local social hierarchies in homes, or in small communities, or in tribes, or in towns. And the immoral behavior accredited to such endeavors to climb up the dominance hierarchy. And the solution isn't to not climb any dominance hierarchy, but it seems there may be a what's called a universal dominance hierarchy. So it's not something you climb in a particular area, but rather it's that which will allow you to climb, that which is representative of climbing all dominance hierarchies at once. And it's a mode of being and a representative pattern of leaders in top dominance hierarchies. And that same pattern is what makes you attractive, is what makes males attractive to females. It seems like, because females are attracted to attractive men, and the qualities of those men is high status and the ability to climb dominance hierarchies. And that same mode of being is the archetypal representations we see in movies, films, books, stories and mythological material religions, and it's this like archetypical representation. It's the spirit of the masculine male, etc. And so, but it's of competence. And when a hierarchy gets rigid, then the more aggressive males are going to use power to rise in the dominance hierarchy. But to sidestep all of that and to backtrack, there's a universal dominance hierarchy. There seems so that a person can climb, and that it's like that universal dominance hierarchy would allow you to climb any particular sets of dominance hierarchies, but you would be blind to it in a single particular one. You wouldn't be aware of it in the single particular dominance hierarchy that you were in, but rather people who have climbed multiple dominance hierarchies that are successful in multiple areas, they seem to be like an archetypal figure of like leadership and masculinity. You take people like Jocko Willink, Jordan Peterson, I'll say Israel Adesanya, MMA fighter, Joe Rogan, Muhammad Ali. They seem to be archetypal figures, or embodying a representative mode of being, which is that of a hero, the hero archetype. And okay, so about this universal dominance hierarchy, it's difficult to explain, partly because I don't know too much about it, but it's a compelling idea, the universal dominance hierarchy, of you don't try to climb this particular hierarchy, but it's the job of every single male to climb the universal dominance hierarchy, aware of it or not. And it can to attempt to do that will free you from the constraints of any particular hierarchy you may be in, and it'll give you justification to transcend above and beyond your current limitations, because a lot of people may have the justification of like, you know what, like, I have no reason to behave like a better person if I'm not doing something meaningful. But to climb the dominance hierarchy, this universal dominance hierarchy, would be justification enough for someone to get their act together. Okay. So, in this universal hierarchy, it's what it means to be a man, essentially. And I believe that there's fractions of the universal hierarchy within hierarchies, and then within representations of leaders found in our culture, of those we idealize, movies, music, etc. So, yeah. But about the universal dominance hierarchy, it seems apparent in the most ancient of human literatures, back to Egyptian, Roman, and Mesopotamian mythologies. They all kind of accrue a hero, a representative messiah, a leader, essentially. And the more that you embody that mode of being, behaviorally, mentally, the more meaning that your life accrues. It's what like all these, what do you call them? It's partly MGTOW, partly red pill, partly pickup artist, and the part of the self-help community in general, what they call alpha male, to be alpha. That's another way of that's another representative way of speaking about a leader or a man or a hero, an archetypical representation of men and some women that we've been talking about for thousands of years. And what every man is yearning to become is to become like their ultimate father, like the person whom they look up to the most. And I think, and it seems to be so, that Jesus Christ may be the ultimate alpha male. And I think we confuse what he actually was with misrepresentations of the contemporary church. The contemporary church has portrayed him as quite feminine and harmless. And they've watered it down to a simple Mr. Nice Guy, essentially. Which is partly why so many men are walking out of church and out of the religions. Because it seems watered down to a harmless Mr. Nice Guy mode of being, which doesn't put significant weight or account upon responsibility, power, defensive aggression. Like, you gotta protect your mother, your sister, your wife, your girlfriend. It doesn't put into account, like, having a mission in life, having a purpose, a meaning. It doesn't put into account masculine traits in general. And so, but I think it's time to bring back the original archetypical representations of ancient literature. Primarily the biblical account of Jesus Christ and him being the ultimate alpha male, because that was the original purpose he is, because something that is admirable, someone who is high status, you find them admirable, and you find them and you attribute them to be high status because you find them admirable, and they have particular leadership qualities by which you would want to imitate. They're an ideal, they're a hero, an idol, something to become more like. And that was what the 12 disciples were there to do, were to figure out how this enigmatic, charismatic alpha male, to use that cliched term, how does he operate in the world? And it's so admirable that they would try to embody that mode of being. And I'd say a lot of them did so successfully. So, yeah. So yeah, that's a good place to end. And I want to get to speak more about the universal dominance hierarchy, and also about Jesus Christ as the ultimate alpha male, or ideal role model, father figure, or person to imitate. So, someone whom you see as your hero, aside from the watered down, harmless Mr. Nice Guy portrayal that the church has mischaracterized him as.